Hey guys, welcome back to another Ask Me Anything. Here we are in Palm Beach talking about the latest question actually comes from Instagram again, and person asked, what should I do if I want to become an entrepreneur and I haven't found my passion yet? You shouldn't be an entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur, I've talked about this 100 times in different ways, but never in this direct fashion, which I think is very, very important for people to start realizing. Being an entrepreneur, or being considered an entrepreneur, is the reward of having succeeded. So, you're not a doctor when you're in doctor school or in medical school, right? Like, you're not considered a doctor until you succeed and finish your education and get your doctorate, right? So, you're not an entrepreneur, not until you go to entrepreneur school, because that's bullshit. You're not an entrepreneur until you have successfully innovated and actually facilitated a platform that enables people, that enables to create solutions to problems for others. Until you have successfully done so, you're not an entrepreneur. When you're self-employed, that does not make you an entrepreneur. Because you open your own kebab restaurant, that does not make you an entrepreneur. That you have your own clinic, that doesn't make you an entrepreneur. It's when you succeed that you earn that title. So when you're 16 or when you're young and you're like, I want to be an entrepreneur, well, you can't want to be an entrepreneur. You become an entrepreneur based on your achievement. You don't want to be an entrepreneur. So you can want to be a problem solver, and then you can solve a problem within a realm that you're passionate about, and then those things together eventually earn you the title of entrepreneur. But I think focusing on wanting to be an entrepreneur is the biggest crock of shit on the planet. Like it's not possible. So what you need to focus on is becoming great at what you do, is enhancing yourself in the realm of something you're good at, that you're talented at, have a skill at, or just working to acquire skills and talents that eventually evoke passion. Like I talk about third circle theory, like passion doesn't just appear out of nowhere, suddenly you become passion. Passion is a sum of a lot of the things you experience over time and the talents and skills you grow. And when that confidence gets fueled and you become very good at something, not only become good at it, but you become exposed to it so much that you tend to gain an understanding about it so great that you become somewhat passionate about it. Some things stick with you more or less. But at the end of the day, it's all about actually gaining skills, talents, and abilities, and then those things will translate into passion later. So the focus on, I need to find my passion, is another crock of shit. The focus should be on becoming great at what you do, becoming great at everything you touch, right? And even if that's working at McDonald's, I would think about, when you say I want to become an entrepreneur, don't think about it this way. Think about it in the simplest of fashion. If you want to become successful, which is very simple, right? It's a simple thing. Most people want to make a lot of money. Most people want to be successful. If you want to become successful, think about life in this sense. You may not want to work at McDonald's, but you may be working at McDonald's. Now, I use McDonald's as a bad thing. It's really not a bad place to work. If you work at McDonald's, don't try to kill yourself. Like, I don't mean it in a bad way. So, let's say you work somewhere. We'll just use McDonald's as an example. Don't get offended. You work at McDonald's and you're a cashier. That's a pretty entry-level job. And I didn't say low-end job, entry-level, right? So you got your foot in the door, McDonald's. Now, McDonald's may not be the greatest place that you want to end up in 20 years, 30 years, or somewhere you want to work in the long term. But what can happen is you already are working at McDonald's right now, right? So that is a constant that hasn't changed for that moment. Now, how you work at McDonald's, that's what you need to focus on. Do you just go to work, go home, waste the day, fuck around, and not really do anything? Or do you, for the time you're there, that you're paid to be there, that someone else trusted you with an opportunity for, that before you had that job you were begging for, because it's better to have a job than no job, that moment when you're at McDonald's, how are you making the time you're there count? If you're going to spend 40 hours at work, then make it the best 40 hours you've ever spent anywhere. Make it count so that the same year, like next year, the same time, even if you're still stuck in McDonald's because you couldn't find better, you're in a crappy town, it doesn't have a lot of jobs, or whatever the fuck the reason is that you're still stuck at McDonald's, why not be an assistant manager at McDonald's next year, same time, spend the same amount of time there, which is fine. Like 40 hours a week, you're still there. They're not going to make you work 90 hours a week, but at least now earn double the salary for the same amount of time, right? And so if you're going to be somewhere, then make the best of where you are and become the best at what you do. And eventually, just being a manager at McDonald's versus a cashier enables you to transition as a manager into a better company, enables you to have leadership skills, leadership training, and perhaps even though McDonald's may not pay you a wage that you're like happy with, at least you can say, I've had McDonald's training, which in the food industry may actually be leading, training for, fast food. I'm not sure, but all I'm trying to say is you're going to get a lot further by doing a lot more in the time you have somewhere, rather than worrying about what you don't have and what you should have and where you should be in 5 years. Instead, focus on where you are today and how to be the best at it. And you'll realize with this methodology that you'll move forward so much faster because every year you'll be further ahead. And even though you may still work at McDonald's in 3 years, it won't be a bad thing anymore. Even though it started as a bad thing, it won't be the worst thing at all. I myself worked in banking early on. I didn't love my job. Like, it wasn't the number one thing I wanted to do my whole life. When I got my job, I hated it. Like, it wasn't the right atmosphere. I really wanted it before I had it, but when I had it, I was like, fuck, what am I doing here? Like, it really sucks. But I realized, I said, well, look, the sky's the limit. I'm so young and I'm in management. Imagine what I can do if I'm so young and here as a baseline. Imagine how much further I can go in the next 6 years. So instead of worrying about what I didn't love about my job, I worried about becoming the best at what I did. And very quickly, every single year to 6 months, I was getting a promotion that was at least 10 to 15% more in money than I had before. So instead of worrying about doing my job and next year collecting some bullshit $3 an hour more for the same work I did, I focused on fuck the raise, don't care for what the company's doing with its employees. I know that by next year, I'll be one further step ahead to getting closer to that CEO level. So everything in between that, then I can dictate my own salary, because even though I'm not going to be making 150 grand next year, at least I'm one step closer to that. And that's not just waiting for someone else to tell me what raise I'm worth every year, but it's maybe creating my own each and every year by deciding that I'm very talented at something, proving it to the organization, and then taking the next role. So whenever you spend 40 hours somewhere, spend the right 40 hours and make it count. Today's question is, did my bank job hold me back from entrepreneurship at first? So let me give some context to people who don't know a little bit about my bank job. From when I was very